All right. So we are discussing about turbofans in the last class, and had started discussing a problem, and midway the class ended. So I will quickly go over it again, so that if there is any confusion, I hope you have tried this problem. A somewhat longer problem, but not very difficult to understand. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we had a problem just to actually clarify the things, how things occur in a turbofan. So we had taken a demonstrative problem where we had a turbofan engine which was twin spool, similar to this. So twin spool means by this time you should know. So there's an outer shaft which runs the high pressure turbine and the compressor in this case, and there's an inner shaft which rotates at a different speed and runs the low pressure turbine and the fan. So two separate shafts are needed because the fan cannot rotate at the same speed as the high pressure compressor because of its longer blade length. So it has to be rotated at a lower speed. Similarly, low pressure turbine also has longer blade lengths. So then we had four design parameters. Okay. So in turbojets, we have studied that there are two design parameters. One is the compressor pressure ratio and second is the turbine inlet temperature. So in this case of turbofans, we had two additional design parameters. One is the fan pressure ratio, or pressure ratio across the fan, and second is the bypass ratio. What is the ratio of air going through the outside chamber like to that of the mass flow rate of air going through the core section, which is defined as bypass ratio and given by B. Other things are similar. So, and in this case, we have a, so nothing is mentioned, but we will assume that we have unmixed flow if nothing is mentioned. So it means that the air that is pushed by the fan goes out separately through a separate nozzle, and the hot gases coming out of the turbines go out through the core section through a separate nozzle, which is known as the hot nozzle. So these were the, if you don't remember, because it was long time back, let us quickly go through the problem. So we had the overall pressure ratio given, which is the combined pressure ratio of the fan and the compressor as 25. Fan pressure ratio is 1.65. Then bypass ratio was 5. Turbine inlet temperature is 1550 Kelvin. Polytropic efficiencies were given for the compressor, turbine, and fan. Fan also behaves like a compressor with lower pressure ratio, obviously. So it is 0.9. Okay. So for fan also, we need to use the do the calculation similar to a compressor because it's same compression process that is occurring. What I am referring to is that we need to relate the polytropic efficiency to the polytropic exponent. So there we need to use the relations that were developed for the compressor. At this moment, you will not remember, but that is the idea. So then efficiency of the nozzle 95%, transmission efficiency or mechanical efficiency 99%. Then combustion efficiency 99%. Pressure loss in the combustion chamber is given as a value, not percentage, 1.5 bar. And overall mass flow rate is given as 215 kg per second. Calorific value is standard 43,100 kilojoule per kg. And we have to calculate the performance parameters. What are those? We already know the thrust specific fuel consumption and the thrust. So in this case, because mass flow rate is given, we can actually calculate the overall thrust instead of specific thrust. We can obviously calculate the specific thrust and multiply it by mass flow rate to get the overall thrust. At static condition, we have to find this at sea level. So we will assume 1 bar and 288 Kelvin temperature. And this was the TS diagram, okay, with the along with the pressure losses. Let me go to the problem, or let us keep this open, or no, we will keep the diagram open. It will be better for the problem. So because it is given that the inlet condition is static, it means that there is no inlet velocity, negligible inlet velocity. So the diffuser does not play a role in increasing the pressure, as there is no kinetic energy of the fluid. So the ambient condition or the diffuser exit condition P01 is same as the ambient condition PA. Okay, so we can write them as the same point. Then we have the fan going from A to or 01 to 02. Okay, it's not an isentropic process, obviously, so it deviates from the isentropic line. And then the flow gets divided into two parts. Let me just, at this moment, let us keep this open. Later we will come to diagram. So this we have already discussed. I am just revising so that we can continue the problem. So at this moment, the flow gets divided into two parts from 02. So one part goes through the core section. So from 02 to 03 through the compressor, like usual compression process. Here the polytropic efficiency is given. Sometimes isentropic efficiency may be given in most of the cases. Then 03 to 04 is the conversion process. There is a pressure loss. So that's why P03 is higher than P04. From 04 to 05 is the expansion in the high pressure turbine. Okay. So this is the work output that is required to run the compressor. Then from 05 to 06 is the expansion in the low pressure turbine. And this is the work output that runs the fan. And from 06 to 7 is the expansion in the hot nozzle. Now we don't know what is P7. So P7 can be equal to PA, ambient pressure, if the nozzle is not choked, or it can be higher than the ambient pressure, some critical pressure, PC, if the nozzle is choked. Okay, we have discussed this, what is choking of a nozzle. So depending on the situation, it can be either ambient pressure or critical pressure. We have to see. We have to check whether the nozzle is choked or not. Similarly, the air flowing through the cold section after going out from the fan, there will be slight pressure loss in real life, but here we are not considering this in this problem. So it directly, even at this point also, the state is 02 after going through the duct because no change occurs. We are assuming that no change occurs. Then it expands through the cold nozzle. So it goes from 02 to 8. So again, P8 can be equal to atmospheric pressure PA, or it can be equal to the critical pressure. This critical pressure is different from this critical pressure because here the inlet condition is different, obviously. So the critical pressure corresponding to this cold nozzle. Okay. We have to check and then we have to find out whether this nozzle is choked or not and accordingly do the calculation. So now we will keep this diagram open for reference. Feel free to ask any questions. Problem is very standard once you know how to draw the diagram. Yes, diagram. So half of the problem we had already discussed. We'll quickly go through it. T01, which is the diffuser exit temperature, and P01, diffuser exit pressure, is equal to the ambient temperature and pressure as VA is 0. Okay. So we already know how to calculate T01. T01 is TA plus VA square by 2CP. So basically the stagnation temperature. So in this case, VA is 0. So T01 is equal to T0A. So there is no problem. Then P02, which is the exit pressure from the fan, is equal to P01 into fan pressure ratio. Fan pressure ratio is given as 1.65. So multiplied by 1.65, so it gives us 1.65 bar. So we need to find the temperature also at the exit of the fan. So we can use the polytropic relation, assuming that 01 to 02 is a polytropic process because the polytropic efficiency is given. We can go in a roundabout way also and calculate the isentropic efficiency and try to do the problem, but it is more cumbersome. Better to use the polytropic relation directly. So T02 by T01 is equal to P02 by P01 to the power n minus 1 by n, where n is the polytropic exponent. So instead of gamma minus 1 by gamma, we are using n minus 1 by n. So instead of the isentropic coefficient or ratio of specific heats, we are using n. So the relation of n, you will not remember at this point. So we had derived this long back in the first half of the course. So n minus 1 by n is given by 1 by polytropic efficiency into gamma minus 1 by gamma. Here the fluid is air, so gamma is the gamma of air, and efficiency is the efficiency of fan. Okay, so this was the relation that we have derived for the compressor. Because it's a compression process, for fan also we will use the same relation. So n minus 1 by n we can calculate based on the efficiency that is given 0.9 and gamma of air. Okay, so and it comes out to be 0.3175. So if you replace this in this relation, P02 by P01 is already known, T01 is known. So we can find out T02, which comes out to be 337.6 Kelvin. Okay. So again, I will just reiterate that please go up to 3 or 4 significant digits. Okay, after the decimal point. Otherwise, in some cases, there will be a lot of errors in the problem, particularly when you are calculating the fuel air ratios or similar things, very small values. This can lead to a lot of errors. So for the compressor, so inlet condition of the compressor is known, P02 and T02. Compressor process we know how to calculate very easily, and in this case it will be similar to the fan. So P02 is 1.65 bar, T02 is 337.62 Kelvin, and P03 by P01 is also known to us. It is given as the overall pressure ratio 25. So P03 is 25 bar. Okay. So exactly same process we can use now. What we have done for the fan, okay, using the polytropic efficiency of the compressor. Again, gamma is the gamma of air. So n minus 1 by n is again the same value, 0.3175. So we can find out what is T03, because both P03 and T02 are known. T03 comes out to be 800.2576 Kelvin, exit temperature of the compressor. So exit temperature and pressure of compressor are now known. Okay, so T0, so 03 state is known. So we are going state by state as we do for all the problems. 01 was known, 02, now 03 is known. Next state is 04. So 04 already temperature is given to us. Maximum temperature or turbine inlet temperature 1550 Kelvin. And pressure we can easily calculate because pressure loss is given as 1.5 bar. So we know what is P03. P03 is 25 bar. Okay. So P04 is 25 minus 1.5 bar. So 23.5 bar. And T04 is also known. So state 4 is known. State 04 is known. So the other calculation that we do for the combustion chamber is we find out the fuel air ratio using our standard energy balance. Okay. So again, the standard energy balance we can use. So the calorific, so the energy released by the fuel is given in terms of calorific value as fuel air ratio F into combustion efficiency eta B into calorific value of the fuel. Okay. So this is per unit mass flow rate through the hot section. This fuel air ratio is defined as per unit mass flow rate through the hot section, right? Because if you do the calculation, so if you do for the total mass flow rate through the hot section, then the mass flow rate of fuel will be m dot f. So this fuel air ratio is defined with respect to m dot h. Okay, mass flow rate through the hot section. So because there is sometimes confusion, I am just writing this here. So F into eta B into QCV, this is the energy release. This is equal to the energy gained by the fluid. So which is equal to 1 plus F CPG into T04. This is the mass flow rate at the exit of the combustion chamber per unit mass flow rate through the at the inlet of or a hot section. Okay, so per unit. So if I divide the entire thing by m dot h, I get this. And at the inlet of the combustion chamber, we have CPA into T03. This is the energy. 1 into CPA into T03. This is the standard calculation we have done previously for turbojets and industrial turbines also. Same calculation. All the factors are known. So we can find out what is F. So F comes out to be 0.03848. So in this type of situation, if you just do 2-digit or 1-digit, 3-digit calculation, if you do 2 significant digits, still there will be a lot of error. So if I write 0.024, still there will be a lot of error. So better to go at least 3 significant digits. Okay, so 0.0238. I have gone to up to 5 digits to be more accurate. And P04 we have already calculated to be 23.5 bar. So inlet conditions of the turbine are now known, and fuel air ratio is also known for the high pressure turbine. So next step, we know that the high pressure turbine runs the compressor. So we have to equate the turbine work to the compressor work input to find out state 05. Okay. So m dot h CPA into T03 minus T02. M dot h is the mass flow rate through the hot section. So it is the mass flow rate through the at the inlet of the hot section. So it is the mass flow rate through the compressor into Cp of air. So the air is flowing through the compressor T03 minus T02. This is equal to the energy transmitted from the turbine. So transmission efficiency time into mass flow rate through the turbine, which is m dot h into 1 plus f. Because additional mass flow rate of fuel is also there, into Cp of gas T04 minus T05. So we can cancel m dot h, and all the values there are known. Okay, I'm not repeating them again because we have already calculated. We are going through the problem slightly faster. So except T05. So we can find T05 from this energy balance. It comes out to be 1150.4332 Kelvin. So temperature at 0.5. We also need to know the pressure at 0.05 so that we can proceed with the calculation for the low pressure turbine. So in this case, how to find the pressure? Because isentropic efficiency is not given. We have to use the polytropic efficiency for finding the pressure. Okay, polytropic relation. The polytropic relation P05 by P04 is equal to T05 by T04 to the power n minus 1 by n. Exactly similar to the form like gamma minus 1 by gamma for isentropic case, but instead of gamma here we have n for the polytropic process going from 04 to 05. So for turbines or expansion processes similar to turbine, the polytropic exponent n, it is a different polytropic exponent n as compared to the polytropic exponent of the compressor. So in this case, n minus 1 by n is given by this relation. It was derived long back. You can go and check. So polytropic efficiency into gamma minus 1 by gamma. Here gamma is the gamma of gas, 1.333. Polytropic efficiency is given as 0.9. So we find that n minus 1 by n is 0.2248 in this case. Very different from the value that was derived for the compression, which was 0.3175. So using this now, we can just replace the values here and we will find P05 to be 6.2393 bar. So this is the pressure P05. So P05 and T05 are known. This up to this part we have actually discussed in the previous class. Only the nozzle sections were not discussed. So then, so any questions up to this point? Very standard, but if you have any confusion, you can ask me. Otherwise, we will continue. So then we have the expansion in the low pressure turbine, and this output from the turbine drives the fan. So we have to do the work balance or energy balance for the low pressure turbine and the fan. So mass flow rate in the fan is m dot h plus m dot c, because both the mass of the hot section and cold section both passes through the fan, right? So we have the total mass flow rate of air, m dot h plus m dot c, into Cpa of air into T02 minus T01. This is the work input required for running the fan. This is equal to the work output that is transmitted from the low pressure turbine. So transmission efficiency, no separate efficiency is given. We'll assume it's the same transmission efficiency for both the cases. So ETIM into m dot h 1 plus f Cp of gas T05 minus T06. Okay, in this case, this is m dot h because only the hot mass flow rate is passing through the low pressure turbine. Okay. Although the entire mass flow rate passes through the fan. So we have to be careful here. So if you divide the entire thing by m dot h, so this leads to 1 plus b, because m dot c by m dot h is b, bypass ratio, which is given as 5 in this case. Into all these values are known. On the right hand side also all values are known except T06. So we can find out T06, which is the exit temperature from the low pressure turbine, and we find that it is equal to 893.2706 Kelvin. Okay, and similar to the first turbine, we can calculate the pressure drop. We can find out the pressure using the polytropic exponent, which will be same as in this case, based on the polytropic efficiency, and we can find out that P06 is 2.20247 bar. Okay. So we have done all the calculations apart from the two nozzles, okay, and the thrust calculations for the nozzles. And for the nozzles, we know that we have to first check for individually, for both nozzles, we have to do the calculations, because the thrust generated, there are separate thrusts generated for the hot section and the cold section. Okay. And the total thrust is the summation of these two separate thrusts. For each of this nozzle, we have to separately check whether the nozzle is choked, that is, it is in critical condition at the exit or not. And accordingly, we have to do the calculation for both the nozzles. So one nozzle can be choked, or both nozzles can be choked, or none of the nozzles also can be choked. So it depends on the problem or the design parameters. Okay, so we have to check for both cases. So first we will start with the hot nozzle. Okay, we have done a problem on how to do the nozzle calculations, but if you don't remember, it's the same procedure. Let us just have a discussion here. T07, if you remember, so there is no change in the stagnation temperature in the nozzle, right? So this will be 07. Very difficult to see using a mouse. So T07 is equal to T06 because there is no work input to the nozzle, no heat in, no work transfer or heat transfer to the nozzle. So the stagnation enthalpy remains same at the inlet and exit of the nozzle. That is the basic property in a nozzle, right? Stagnation enthalpy remains same. Only what changes? The static enthalpy decreases, and as a result, the kinetic energy increases. Okay. So T07 is equal to T06. We have found T06 to be 893.2706 Kelvin. Up to all the points, like from 01 to 06, we have calculated pressure and temperature for all the cases. Only 8 and 7 are remaining. So now, if the nozzle is choked, okay, if we assume that the nozzle is choked, then for a choked nozzle, T07 by T7 is gamma plus 1 by 2. Okay. How this relation has been derived? We have already derived this previously. Don't remember? Let us try to see where we have derived this. In fact, we have done problems also. So basically, we have derived a relation long back on the relation between stagnation and static property, which is 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 into Mach number square. So this you can easily derive based on the using the Cp and gamma values and velocity. So I think that also we have seen previously somewhere. I will just show you. I will not go through the discussion again, just so that you can relate. Yes, so this type of relation we have derived, page 64. You don't remember. So T0A by TA is 1 plus. So T0A is TA plus VA square by 2Cp. So T0A by TA is 1 plus VA square by 2Cp TA. So you don't have to remember also. Then we can just replace Cp by gamma R by gamma minus 1. And after some rearrangement, we get 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 VA square by gamma R TA. So because gamma R TA is square of the speed of sound, we get VS square by CS square, which is Mach number square. So this gives us relation between stagnation and static temperature at any point. Okay, not only at the exit, at any point in a adiabatic process in this case, okay, or isentropic process. Obviously, it will be true. 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 ma square. Okay. So for choked nozzle, ma is 1 at the exit. So we can replace by ma by 1. So you get gamma 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2, which gives us gamma plus 1 by 2. And that is what we have derived. Okay. So gamma plus 1 by 2 for this case if the nozzle is choked. So here the gamma is the gamma of gas, 1.333. So if you use this, we can find out in case the nozzle is choked. So assuming the nozzle is choked, the T7 value will be equal to 765.7699 Kelvin. So this may or may not be the actual 7 value. So this is assuming the nozzle is choked. Then we will have to find out whether it is actually choked or not. Then if it is choked, this value will be correct. If it is not choked, we have to redo the calculation. So efficiency, isentropic efficiency is given for the nozzle 0.95. So 0.95 is equal to T06 minus T7 by T06 minus T7S, standard calculation. So T7S comes out to be 759.0593 Kelvin. So we can find out the pressure now, T7, using the isentropic relation between 06 and 7S. Okay. So P7 by P06 is equal to T7S by T06 to the power gamma by gamma minus 1, where gamma is the gamma of gas, 1.333. So this gives a value of P7 as 1.0552 bar. Okay. So ambient pressure is 1 bar, and here the P7 has come out to be higher than P ambient. So it means that the nozzle is choked. Okay, because we can just reach up to this point and the nozzle will become choked. We cannot go to a lower pressure. So if you do the calculations slightly incorrectly, you can see that this value is very near to the value of 1 bar. So you may get the wrong result if you do some small mistakes or take less number of digits. It may come out as 0.99 something, and you may think that it is a nozzle which is not choked. So entire problem will get changed in that case. So anyway, for this case, it is choked, and so that our T7 and P7 values that we have calculated are correct values for this nozzle. Okay. So for a choked nozzle, we know that the velocity at the exit will be equal to the sonic velocity at that point, because sonic velocity, remember, changes with temperature. So we have to calculate based on the temperature at 0.7. So V7 is equal to root over gamma G R T7. Gamma G is 1.333, R is 287. T7 we have calculated as 765.7699 Kelvin. So it comes out to be 541.259 meter per second. This is the velocity. These are realistic velocities. Okay. Problem values are realistic values. This is a realistic velocity from the hot nozzle, 541.259 meter per second. So what was the next step? So if the nozzle is choked, we need to calculate the momentum thrust as well as the pressure thrust also, because there is a pressure difference between the exit of the nozzle and the ambient condition, ambient pressure. So as a result, there will be a force that is generated, which will also add to the thrust. So for calculating the pressure thrust, we need to calculate the area. If you remember, we have discussed these things. We need to calculate the nozzle exit area, which is not given to us. Mass flow rate is known, but the nozzle exit area is not known. And to calculate the nozzle exit area, we have to calculate the density at 0.7. Okay, velocity is needed, density is needed at 0.7, because m dot is equal to rho into A into V, density into area into velocity. So rho 7 is P7 by RT7. P7 and T7 we have already calculated. So the density comes out to be 0.48013 kg per second. So this calculation, what we are doing here, is exactly similar to the calculation of the nozzle we have done previously also. Only the values are different. So it will reinforce the discussion we have done previously. Okay. So now mass flow rate, overall mass flow rate is given as 215 kg per second, and bypass ratio is 5. So from this we can find out the mass flow rate through the hot section. Mass flow rate through the cold section is 5 times the mass flow rate of the hot section. So using that, we can find out m dot h to be 35.833 kg per second and m dot c as 179.1667 kg per second. Okay. So m dot c by m dot h is 5 times. And m dot overall m dot is 6 times that of m dot h, basically. So mass flow rate through the hot section is known, density is known, velocity is known. So we can calculate the area of the exit of hot nozzle. A7 is, so exit mass flow rate through the hot nozzle is not equal to m dot h, but m dot h into 1 plus f, because of the presence of fuel also. M dot h into 1 plus f divided by rho 7 B7. This gives us A7. All the values are known here. This gives us a value of A7, which is 0.141175 meters square. This is the area. So we can now calculate the thrust generated by the hot nozzle. Remember, the thrust will have two components. One is the momentum thrust, which is due to the change in velocity. Okay. So this is equal to m dot h into 1 plus f v7, exit momentum, m dot h 1 plus f v7, minus m dot h va, okay, inlet momentum, change of momentum. So this is the momentum thrust, and the pressure thrust is P7 minus PA into area A7. All the values are known. I will do plot, write them separately to show you what are the individual thrusts. So in this case, the individual thrust, momentum thrust, comes out to be 19,857.63 Newton. Okay, so 19.857 kilonewton. And the pressure thrust is very small because the pressure difference was very small, very near to the ambient pressure, nozzle exit pressure. So pressure thrust comes out to be very small, 779 Newton. So the overall thrust from the hot nozzle is 20,636.916 Newton, or 20.637 kilonewton. Any question? I hope it is clear. No one is asking anything. So similarly, we have to calculate for the cold nozzle. Again, go through the same process. Okay. And check first whether the nozzle is choked or not. So we will again start by assuming that nozzle is choked. Okay. In this case, the fluid which is passing is air, not combustion products. So we have to take gamma of air in this case, not gamma of gas. Okay. So T08 is equal to T02 again.
So,
Because yes.
so actually, in the question, just after the first compressor, the
I cannot hear.
power,
Can you speak slightly louder?
so actually the power for the P 02 to 03 process, the
Yes, yes.
so that is actually very slightly different, and I'm getting a very different answer finally. At the exit, I'm getting as 1.48 bar.
So why this much of difference? You can check, just recheck your calculation once, or recheck my calculation once.
Sir, yes, sir. At the P04 and P05, that
Hmm.
part the power is actually slightly different, but it is enough to create a lot of change.
Why is it slightly different? Means, did you take the
Sir,
collectively polytropic efficiency?
hi,
You,
yes, sir. Just a small change in that, sir, and there is a very huge. Actually,
that
you
can
have
happen with small
approximate.
changes, but generally small differences also should not be there if we go to correct number of significant digits. Others can also check. Okay, maybe there can be calculation mistake in my problem or in your problem, but the methodology should be what we are discussing. If you follow the correct methodology, that like if you follow this method, you should get the correct result. Calculation mistake may still be there in my calculation also. It might have to be checked. So okay.
So actually in the 02 to 03 process, the power is 0.31746. There 0.3175 was taken, and that actually changed a lot.
Okay, okay, okay. It might happen. So procedure, it is fine in case the procedure is correct. Okay.
Yes.
So ultimately, this type of calculations, when it will be done for the proper actual designs, we will be using some computational tool like MATLAB, which will lead to more accuracy because always 8 digits are taken or something like. If you use long format input, longer versions also. Anyway, we'll continue. Then it's fine. It means if your process is correct, you don't have to worry about changes in values. Okay. So for the cold nozzle, again same process. T08 is equal to T02. Stagnation temperature remains same in the cold nozzle. It was calculated to be 337.6253 Kelvin. So assuming that the nozzle is choked, we can find out T8. T08 by T8 is gamma plus 1 by 2, where gamma is gamma of air, 1.4. So T8 is 281.3544 Kelvin. Okay. This may or may not be the correct T8. So this is assuming that the nozzle is choked. We have to check whether the nozzle is choked or not. So then after getting T8, we have to find out T8s using the isentropic efficiency, 0.95. And using the isentropic efficiency, we get T8s to be 278.3928 Kelvin. And then we can find out what is P8 using the isentropic relation between 02 and 8s. Okay, P8 by P02 is equal to T8s by T02 to the power gamma by gamma plus 1, where gamma is the gamma of air. So this gives us P8 value of 0.83997 bar, which comes out as less than ambient pressure. So in this case, obviously, as the nozzle is exposed to the ambient, the exit pressure will be equal to the ambient pressure. It cannot go down to this value. So it is not choked. Nozzle is not choked. Okay. So the cold nozzle in our problem is not choked, and the nozzle pressure P8 should be equal to PA, which is 1 bar. So this is the new P8, not this value. And so we have to calculate T8 from this. So first we have to calculate T8s using the isentropic relation between 8 and P8 and P02. So T8s by T02 is equal to P8 by P02 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay. So P8 is 1 bar, which we have seen now, and P02 was 1.65 bar previously calculated. Whole to the power 0.4 by 1.4. It gives us T8s as 292.615 Kelvin. Okay. And then using the isentropic efficiency of the nozzle, we can find out T8, which comes out to be 294.866 Kelvin. So this is the correct T8, not this T8 that we had obtained, 281, but 294.866 Kelvin for the unchoked nozzle. So in this case, there won't be any pressure thrust. We do not need to calculate any area. Okay. So only momentum thrust will be there because there is no pressure difference at the exit. So we have to find the velocity. So the velocity that is generated, VA square by 2 is equal to CPA T08 minus T8, right? So T08 is equal to T02, so we can write T08 as T02. So CPA T02 minus T8. So velocity square by 2 is equal to, or velocity square, V8 square by 2 Cp is the difference between the stagnation and static temperature at the exit of the nozzle. So we are just using that relation. So this gives us a value of V8 as 293.167 meter per second. This is the exit velocity from the cold nozzle. So thrust we can calculate mass flow rate of the cold section, which is 179.1667 kg per second, into V8 minus VA. VA was obviously 0, so V8 is 293.167 Newton. So we find that the thrust is 52,525.798 Newton. So the interesting thing to note here is that for the hot section, although the velocity was much larger, and also we had pressure thrust, velocity, what was the value? 541 meter per second. But because of much lesser mass flow rate, the hot section thrust is much lower. It is only 20 kilonewton as compared to more than 50 kilonewton for the cold section. So this is the main idea behind turbofan engines, that overall velocity is reduced, overall exit velocity is reduced. If you take the average exit velocity, it is reduced, but the thrust is still very high because of the very high mass flow rate that is present. Okay, that's why the cross-sectional areas are very large as compared to turbojet engines. If you just go, whenever you take the board a flight next time, take a closer look if you are boarding by the staircases on the back side of the aircraft, okay, the rear door. So then you can have a good look on it. So I've often seen, like, you can see a lot of details. You can see the turbine blades, compressor blades, fan blades, everything from the back side, cold nozzle, hot nozzle. Have a good look at the engine, okay, when you are boarding a airplane next time. So the total thrust comes out to be 73.16. So we have to add the hot thrust and cold thrust, and we find that the total thrust is 73.163 kilonewton. So thrust specific fuel consumption, if you remember, by definition it is the fuel consumption per unit thrust. Okay, m dot f by overall thrust. M dot f is f into m dot h. Remember, f was defined with respect to m dot h. That's why for calculating m dot f, we have to use m dot h. Okay. So 0.023848 into 35.833 divided by 73,160, whatever we have calculated. So it comes out to be 1.16802 into 10 to the power minus 5 kg per second per Newton. And generally for practical purpose, we have discussed, we write in terms of kg per hour per Newton. So we have to multiply this by 33,600 to get kg per hour per Newton. And it comes out to 0.04205 kg per hour per Newton. Okay. So this is the amount of fuel that will be required for 1 Newton of thrust per hour of operation of the engine. Okay. So accordingly, for the total thrust or whatever is the engine size, we can calculate what will be the mass flow rate required for 1 hour, total mass of fuel required. So this is how, like, if we can solve a standard problem. This was like a full scale problem for a turbofan engine, including all the parts and calculation for both the nozzles. Okay. So somewhat longer problem, but not very difficult to understand if we follow just a step-by-step process. I will also give you one more problem as a problem set, and recommend a few more problems from the books. I can maybe give you some scan copy of the books also, only for the problem parts, so that you can go through those problems. Turbofan. Any questions? No questions. So we will take a 5 minutes break and then continue with the discussion. So we will continue our discussion. Can you still hear me and see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we have discussed is like more common type of turbofan engine where the hot nozzle and cold nozzle exhaust gases do not mix. Okay. But in some cases, there can be like designs where it is more beneficial to have the exhaust gas from the hot nozzle, not from the nozzle, means exhaust gas coming out from the low pressure turbine mixed with the cold flow coming from the fan section before making them pass through a single common nozzle. This type of situation is present when you want to use a afterburner. Okay. So in case of military aircraft, supersonic aircraft, generally there are low bypass ratio turbofan engines. Low bypass, why low bypass ratio? Because you want to get higher average exhaust velocity so that you can go to higher, the aircraft can fly at high velocity. Okay. So that's why bypass ratio is kept low so that the average velocity is higher. If you keep on increasing the bypass ratio, the average velocity from the exit of the nozzle will become lower and lower, right? Because the contribution of the cold section will increase and the velocity from the cold section is going to be lower as compared to that from the hot section. So if you want to put an afterburner, it is much better if you have a single set of afterburner after the mixing of both the hot and cold fluid. Okay. If you want to otherwise put an afterburner, you have to separately put them for the hot section, cold section, and or at least for the hot section. Then you cannot utilize the full potential of the afterburner, like based on the available amount of oxygen that is used. So in those cases, this type of design is used. This is known as mixed flow turbofan engine. There can be many other types of design. So both, like if you think in terms of whether there is mixing or not, there can be only two types, either mixed or unmixed. But there can be two spool design, single spool design, three spool designs. Okay, I will just show you schematics taken from the book. What are the different designs? But it is very easily understandable that different designs can be present. To go to higher and higher pressure ratios, maybe three spool design will be more beneficial. So if you come to this case, okay, it's a two spool. Two spool means again high pressure turbine is running the compressor, low pressure turbine is running the fan, which is the standard design. And then there is a mixing that occurs after the hot gases come out from the low pressure turbine. So the hot gases come out from the low pressure turbine at stage 06. So up to stage 06, everything is similar to what we have discussed. Okay, so I'm not going through it again. Up to stage 06, everything is similar to what we have discussed in just in this problem only that we have discussed now. So these hot gases at stage 06 will mix with the cold air, which is a state 02. So state 02 also we know how to calculate. So now we will assume that the design is such that P06 is equal to P02. Okay, in real life it will not be exactly equal, so more calculations are needed and iterative calculations may be needed, but we will not, we can, in this, like it is not within the scope of this course to go into those type of advanced design calculations. So we will assume a simplistic calculation where the design is such that P06 is equal to P02. So what actually happens is that most probably design will be such that P2 is equal to P6, means the static pressures will be similar. Okay, not the stagnation pressures. Because if there is a difference in static pressure, there will be a lot of turbulence. So static pressures are designed to be similar, but we will assume here for this simplistic calculation that the stagnation pressures are also similar. Okay. So it will be only a very small difference because the mass flow rate of air is not very, like velocities of air is not very high in this section, cold section or the hot gases, because it has not passed yet through an all. So assuming that, so we know what is 0.02, okay, and 0.06 So we can do an energy balance based on the mass flow rate of the cold section and hot section and the energy of the cold section and hot section to find out the resultant 0.07. Okay, so that we will see. And then the 0.07 is the inlet condition to the single nozzle. We can easily then do the same nozzle calculation. We can find out whether 0.8 is at critical pressure or it is at ambient pressure, depending on whether the nozzle is choked or not. This part will remain same. So the only difference that comes is that there is no nozzle from 0.02 and no nozzle from 0.6. But the 0.2 and 0.6 combine together to get a intermediate 0.07. Intermediate in the sense that intermediate energy between 0.2 and 0.6. And then this 0.7 is fed to the single nozzle. Okay, so entire mass passes through the single nozzle. So just again to revise, for the low pressure spool, the turbine runs the low pressure turbine runs the fan. So 1 plus F into m dot H, which is the mass flow rate through the low pressure turbine, into Cp of gas T05 minus T06. Okay, this is the work output by the low pressure turbine into mechanical efficiency, transmission efficiency of this low pressure turbine is the energy or work that is passed to the fan. So the fan work input is mass flow rate through the fan, which is m dot H plus m dot C. So the entire mass flow rate occurs to the fan into Cp of A into T02 minus T01. So this is the work input to the fan. So from this we can get, if you divide by m dot H, you get the standard relation 1 plus F Cpg T05 minus T06 eta m1 is equal to 1 plus B Cpa T02 minus T01. This we have already done in today's calculation. So it is exactly same. Exactly similar calculation you can do for the high pressure spool. We will not go into again details. Exactly same calculation what we have done today. So we'll come to the mixing process directly. I think the both diagrams are needed. So for the mixing process, the overall enthalpy at point H, 0.02 plus the total enthalpy at 0.6 is equal to the total enthalpy at 0.07. Okay. What is the energy or enthalpy at 0.02? Total enthalpy. It is the mass flow rate of the cold air, because hot air is passed to the compressor. Only the cold air will come for the mixing from this point. Mass flow rate of cold air into Cp of air into T02. Okay. We are assuming that some reference temperature is there for all the cases, same reference temperature. Actually, it will be T02 minus T reference, but it will get cancelled, whatever is the reference. So Cp of air into T02. Similarly, what is H06? It is mass m dot H 1 plus F Cpg. So m dot H into 1 plus F is the mass flow rate through the coming out from the low pressure turbine into Cp of gas into T06. Okay, temperature at this point, total temperature is equal to m dot C plus m dot H. This will be m dot C. Okay, not m dot H. Not shown here. I have written it to be m dot C. I don't know why it's not showing up here. This comment. This is m dot C. By mistake, I have written m dot A. M dot C plus m dot H into 1 plus F. Cp of 7, T07. Okay. So if you divide by m dot H, you will get, so m dot C by m dot H is B. Bypass ratio into Cp of air, T02 plus 1 plus F into 1. M dot H by m dot H is 1. Cp of gas into T06 into m dot C by m dot H is B, and m dot H by m dot H is 1. So B plus 1 plus F. Okay, 1 plus F plus B. Cp7, T07. Okay. So the left hand side is known. B is known. It is assumed that it is known at this point. Like B is given, Cp of air is known, T02 is known from the calculation, previous calculation. 1 plus F, Cp G and T06 are also known. So only thing that are unknown is T07 and Cp7. Okay. Again, we will assume that we will calculate Cp7 just by, because it is a mixture of air and gas. So we should not take the Cp of air or Cp of gas, but some intermediate value. So we can do a interpolation based on the mass flow rate. So Cp of 7 can be calculated as 1 plus F into CPG plus B into CPA by 1 plus F plus B. So interpolation based on the mass flow rate. Okay. So once you calculate CP7, later on you will also need R7 and gamma 7 because those will be required for the calculation of the nozzle. Because now the mixture of air and the combustion products will pass through the nozzle. So R7 also we can calculate in a similar way, 1 plus F R of gas plus B into RA by 1 plus F plus B. Interpolation, linear interpolation. So because we have taken R of gas and R of air for our simplistic calculation to be same, this is equal to R only. Okay, but if you had taken different RA and different R gas, then this will be different. In this case, this is equal to R because we have taken same R for both cases. The gamma value then can be calculated. Gamma is Cp by Cp minus R. So in this case, gamma 7 is Cp7 by Cp7 minus R. Cp7 we have already calculated. We can calculate what is gamma 7. So once you calculate Cp7, we will find what is T07 from this expression, from the mixing process, energy balance of the mixing process. Then we can just calculate, do the same calculation for the nozzle using gamma 7 as the gamma value that is required for checking whether the nozzle is choked or not, and any other calculation. Okay. So I have already mentioned, we have assumed that P07 is equal to P060 or P02. This ignores small pressure losses that are occurring. Okay. So finally, you can, once you calculate for the nozzle, we will get the velocity at the exit of the nozzle. Nozzle calculation remains exactly same as previous. Okay. Only thing that changes is the gamma value, and obviously Cp value wherever it is required. So finally, the thrust can be calculated as m dot h into 1 plus F plus B. This is the total mass flow rate through the nozzle. Okay. Mass of cold air plus mass of hot air plus mass of fuel into V8 minus m dot h into 1 plus B. This is the inlet mass flow rate. Okay. M dot h plus m dot c basically into V8. If the nozzle is choked, then this term will also be there, A8, P8 minus PA. If nozzle is not choked, P8 will be equal to PA and this will go to 0. So this is the idea, and you will be able to do the similar type of calculation for mixed flow turbo fan engine if it is given. You can do based on the procedure that we have followed. Actual calculation is somewhat more complicated. If you account for the difference in pressures, then you have to go for some more iterative calculation. It will take much more computational effort. Any questions? So we have seen one larger problem in the class notes, and I will give you 1 or 2 problems in the assignment. Assignment means problem sets. But you can also go through some of the solved problems in the book by El Sayed Ahmed. So book is very large, I have already told. Each chapter is like on one of the engines, there is single chapter, individual chapters for turbofan, turbojet. So it is much beyond the scope of our course. But I still find it to be much more useful than the other books because it is much more accurate, very exhaustive and very comprehensive book. So at least selectively we can do some problems there. So I have given you so that you don't have to also select. So you can do these additional problems, solve problems 1, 3, and 5 from the chapter of turbofan engines. Okay, maybe I can give you these problems. Just separately, I will just upload in the file section. Okay. But if you have the book, you can just go through these problems. It will clarify most of these things that because we follow the same process. Our process is slightly different as compared to say the simpler process that is used for calculation in the other books. Okay. So I will just briefly show you some slides. Without going into too much details on the performance characteristics of turbofans. Performance characteristics of turbofan calculation is much more complicated as compared to turbojets. Okay. So it can be done in the same way like what we have done by writing programs and going step by step. I have shown the turbojet cases to you using MATLAB programs, and we have seen that we get similar graphs that as those given in the, at least the qualitatively they are similar. Okay. Our values are quantitative. In the books, the qualitative values are given, but the graphs are similar in nature. So for this case, I will just show you the plots from the book instead of trying to calculate because it will take a lot of time to do that. Okay. So before that, let me just show you some different types of configurations of turbofans. Okay, schematically, again taken from the book. I think it is from El Sayed Ahmed. So there can be various types of configuration, both mixed and unmixed. Okay, so this shows that. So you should be able to draw any of these configurations schematically. Okay, like what we do. You don't have to put curved things like this, but normally what we do. So unmixed single spool configuration. Single spool means that there is only a single shaft. So it means that there is a single turbine basically, and this turbine is running both the compressor and the fan. That's why it is shown like this, because both are running at the same speed. Okay. So both the turbine and the fan is being run with the same. Both the compressor and the fan is run by the same turbine. So this type of situation will be there, or this type of design will be there when the pressure ratios are low. Okay, and it is unmixed, so we have separate cold nozzle and separate hot nozzle. Similarly, this is two spool engine unmixed. So this is what we have already discussed, but it is a slightly different design. In this case, there are two compressors. One is a low pressure compressor, one is a high pressure compressor. Okay, we can have a single compressor also, like we have discussed. But if this type of situation is there, then also we can calculate. It's the same process we have to follow based on the given values. So in this case, the low pressure compressor and the fan are being run by the low pressure turbine, and the high pressure compressor is run by the high pressure turbine separately. This will be used for moderately higher pressure gas turbines. Okay. Again, it is unmixed, as is the case for normal passenger aircraft. Normal passenger aircraft exhaust gases are unmixed. You can take a look next time. The core section protrudes out from the outer shell. Okay, that outer shell is the nozzle. It may not look like a nozzle, proper nozzle, but actually it is designed as a nozzle. Okay, there is area change that is occurring. And the hot section, you will see that it's a very narrow section which protrudes out. And the area also can change for that. So this is for very high pressure type of, like when you want to use very high pressure ratios, not high pressure ratios. So we can have a three spool design. There are two compressors and one fan, and three separate turbines are there, each running one of these devices. So highest pressure turbine runs the high pressure compressor, intermediate pressure turbine runs the low pressure compressor, and the low pressure turbine runs the fan. Okay. Again, calculation is similar. You just have to go step by step, but more steps will be required for this. Then this is a mixed flow two spool engine that just now we had discussed. So compressor is being run by the high pressure turbine, fan is run by the low pressure turbine, and the air from the fan and the hot section mixed together before going out through the same nozzle. There can be afterburner in between also. Then we have to also calculate for that. There can be other types of configurations also, but these are the most prominent ones. So before ending this turbofan part, okay, please go through the problems that are to bring more clarity, because the course structure is of only 3 credits. We have only 3 hours per week, so we do not have too much time to go through large number of problems. Ideally, I would have liked to go through more problems in the class. So there are many interesting problems in this gas turbine course, but because of lack of time, I try my best to at least show one example case for each case and give some assignment problems. But this time I will give a lot of problem sets for the second half of the course. But still you need to solve more problems, and at least you can go through some of the problems that are given in the book by El Sayed Ahmed. Solve problems which are within the scope of the course. We will find some problems which are some of the things which are not which have not been discussed. So those are beyond the scope of the course, which we cannot solve within what we have using what we have discussed in the class. This type of problems will not be present in the exam. So anyway, coming to the performance characteristics of turbofan engine. So remember, what are performance characteristics? we want to see how the specific fuel consumption, thrust specific fuel consumption and specific thrust varies, okay, with design parameters. So for turbojet, we had two design parameters. What were the two design parameters? One was the compressor pressure ratio and second was the turbine inlet temperature. Okay. Apart from that, we have other parameters. These are known as design parameters, which are fixed by the designer. Other parameters are like the ambient pressure and temperature and the velocity at which the aircraft is flying. Okay, so those also will play a part. And then we have other parameters which are like manufacturing parameters, like the different efficiencies of each component. Okay, so various parameters are there, but generally the characteristics are drawn in terms of specific fuel thrust, specific fuel consumption, and specific thrust for the design parameters like compressor pressure ratio and turbine inlet temperature. Now, for turbofan engines, we have two more design parameters. What were these two more design parameters? That also we have discussed previously. One is the bypass ratio, and second is the fan pressure ratio. Okay, so if the overall pressure ratio is given, you need one of the, either you need the fan pressure ratio or the compressor pressure ratio to find the other one. Okay, so in the case of the problem that we solved, overall pressure ratio was given as 25 and fan pressure ratio was given as 1.65. So we could find the compressor pressure ratio. So generally in these cases, the overall pressure ratio is one parameter, turbine inlet temperature is one parameter, but apart from that, the bypass ratio and the fan pressure ratios are the additional parameters. So 4 parameters are there. And now we have to see the variation of specific fuel consumption and specific thrust based on the variation of these parameters. Okay. So we will not go into details of like if you do the calculation, you will find this type of curves. I will just discuss what type of observations we can have. So what happens is that if you fix overall pressure ratio and bypass ratio, okay, if you fix the overall pressure ratio and bypass ratio, okay, at this moment also consider that the turbine inlet temperature is also fixed. Okay, turbine inlet temperature is also fixed, bypass ratio is fixed, overall pressure ratio is fixed. Okay, and we are just varying the fan pressure ratio. So what will happen? Overall pressure ratio fixed means that the based on whatever is the inlet condition, the exit condition from the compressor is fixed. Okay, because the overall pressure ratio determines what is the pressure at the exit of the compressor. So overall, so exit temperature and pressure from the compressor is fixed, and turbine inlet temperature, if you fix, it means that inlet temperature to the turbine fixed. So exit temperature from the combustion chamber is fixed. So compressor exit temperature fixed means combustion chamber inlet temperature is fixed, and turbine inlet temperature fixed means combustion chamber outlet temperature, exit temperature is fixed. So the heat addition in the combustion chamber is fixed. Okay, so fixed amount of heat is added, a fixed amount of energy is added. Now, depending on the fan pressure ratio, if you have a very low fan pressure ratio, it means that very less amount of work is required to run the fan. Okay, so most of the work is used up for running the compressor. Okay, and similarly, the thrust generated by the fan is low, but the like the cold nozzle is low, but the thrust generated by the hot nozzle is relatively high. Now, if you keep on increasing the fan pressure ratio, the thrust generated by the cold nozzle will keep on increasing. The thrust generated by the hot nozzle will keep on decreasing. Work input to the low pressure turbine will keep on increasing because it is running the fan. Work input to the fan will keep on increasing. Work output by the low pressure turbine, and work input to the compressor will keep on decreasing. Okay, so if you add this to find the overall effect on the fuel consumption and the thrust, so the thrust behaves like this. So the overall thrust, specific thrust means per unit mass flight, keeps on increasing. Okay, up to some optimum point, and again it keeps on decreasing based on this characterized. So it's complicated because so many factors are there, but this is generally how the behavior you will obtain for any of the turbine inlet temperature, okay, or any of the overall pressure or bypass pressure ratio. So this will happen. So this one of the line, so say this lower line is for a fixed turbine inlet temperature, okay. Similarly, this specific thrust specific fuel consumption will decrease to a like minimum value where the efficiency, overall efficiency is highest, and then again it will increase. So there is an optimum value, and they are corresponding to like the same fan pressure ratio, and again it increases. So this line is for a particular turbine inlet temperature. Now, if you increase the turbine inlet temperature, we will get similar profile, but it will be shifted. So we will get more thrust because now more energy is added in the combustion chamber. So more thrust can be generated. So the thrust will increase, but still there will be an optimum point. But the optimum point is now shifted to a higher fan pressure ratio because there is more thrust available. So more work input can be provided to the fan and the compressor ratio, and the optimum points actually shifts. So in these cases, efficiency is highest if the division is such that relatively more work is provided to the fan. Okay. So, and if you keep on increasing the turbine inlet temperature, this type of observation we can find. For this specific fuel consumption, so the thrust will keep on increasing with increasing turbine inlet temperature, and the fan pressure ratio for the optimum value will keep on increasing. Okay. For specific fuel consumption, the specific fuel consumption decreases at up to a certain inlet temperature. Specific fuel consumption decreases means overall efficiency is highest. So again, you cannot directly relate it why this is happening. You have to do the calculation. But what happens is that what I have discussed, there is a compromise between the work input to the fan and work input to the compressor, and the energy or the thrust generated by the cold nozzle and the hot nozzle. So based on that, in this case, it is found that if there is an optimum value, okay. So the optimum value decreases up to a certain fan pressure, up to a certain inlet temperature, turbine inlet temperature, and then again it keeps on increasing. So these are the characteristics for fixed overall pressure ratio and fixed bypass pressure ratio by varying the fan pressure ratio and turbine inlet temperature. Now, if we want to see the effect of overall pressure ratio and bypass ratio, what we can do is, what is done is generally these optimum values are plotted. Okay. So for example, for this fan pressure ratio, we have a corresponding specific fuel consumption and specific thrust. Okay. So we can plot the specific fuel consumption versus specific thrust for this point, then for this point, okay, for this point. So what will we have on the x-axis? We will have increasing thrust. Thrust is increasing, right? So this value of thrust is lower, then this value is higher, then this is higher, this is higher. So this Fs we will put as the x-axis. Increasing thrust. What will happen to the specific fuel consumption? It actually decreases with increasing thrust at first, and then it increases. So if we draw this, if we do this calculation, say if you use a computer and do it for large number of turbine inlet temperatures, say I have 50 turbine inlet temperature, I'm going steps of 10 degree. Okay. So I will have 50 points. If I add them together, I will get a curve like this. Okay. So the specific fuel consumption, the optimum value of specific fuel consumption decreases with increasing specific thrust, and then it again increases. Okay. This is again assuming that the bypass ratio is, so assuming all this like overall pressure ratio and bypass ratio is fixed. Okay. So similar types of curves can be drawn now if you keep on increasing the bypass ratio. Okay. So you understand that how many loops need to be done if you write a program. So if I increase the bypass ratio, so what happens is that the optimum value actually decrease. Okay. The specific fuel consumption decreases, but the specific thrust also decreases. Specific thrust decreases means that per unit mass flow rate, the thrust decreases. It is understandable because if you increase the bypass ratio, more mass flow rate occurs to the cold section, cold nozzle. So average velocity, exhaust velocity is lower. So specific thrust is lower, but the overall thrust will not be lower because we can have very large mass flow rate. but the specific thrust will be lower. And but the efficiency is also high in that case. Okay, so specific fuel consumption is also lower. So finally, we can generate plots like this, which say we know what is the optimum value of specific fuel consumption. Okay, for a particular bypass ratio, we can join those, and we can get an optimum, like a line of locus of points, which gives the optimum value of specific fuel consumption. So fuel consumption which are lowest at different thrust and bypass ratio. So again, if you also, there are no plots in the book, or I have not drawn it. We can do similar calculation with increasing overall pressure ratios. With increasing overall pressure ratio, obviously the thrust will increase, specific thrust will increase, because you are sorry, increasing overall pressure ratio, you cannot say thrust will increase. The energy that is put into the combustion chamber is actually going to decrease. So it has to be calculated what is the efficiency. So thrust will increase, but efficiency we cannot say directly. Thrust will still increase because pressure ratio is increasing, means more work is available for expansion in the turbine, and more enthalpy is available. We have to check. I cannot say for sure. Okay, so don't draw any conclusion. You can check on your own. Maybe this I can give a problem for solving. So any questions on this, or what we have discussed till now? Exact reasons are difficult to say, so you can think about it, but it can be calculated if you use, like you can write a program to actually do these calculations and plot this. I think I will give just a single programming assignment this course based on like to draw these things. So it will be clear if you draw instead of multiple assignments. So time is not much left. 1 month is left. One programming assignment should be good enough with sufficient depth. So you can see. Questions? Time is left. So if no questions are there, we'll move on to the next type of engine, which is turboprop engine. Okay. So turboprops are like the other extreme from turbojets. Okay. So turbofans, we had a large fan, but it was still within a duct, and a larger amount of mass flow occurred through the, means if for a high bypass turbofan, most of the mass flow occurred through the cold section, right? Like this, through the cold section, between the hot and cold, like in the duct between the hot section and the outer section, and very less amount of flow occurred through the hot section. In turboprop, it is even taken to a more extreme case. So we, instead of fan, we have a very large propeller. Okay, so the main difference is that it is not ducted. Because of this very large size, you cannot put a duct around it. Okay, duct means or a casing around it. So it is open to the air. You might have seen turboprop aircrafts like Air India, or even I think Indigo also has some turboprops. Recently, I had boarded a few. So for short distance flights. So we have a large propeller in the front. So because it is a very large size, it has to be rotated at a smaller angular velocity. Okay, otherwise the speed at the tip will exceed the sonic velocity, and as a result, the flow velocity will also exceed the sonic velocity at the tip, and it will lead to a lot of turbulence and losses. Generally, it is kept at a lower velocity. So this lower velocity in this case is achieved through a gearbox mechanism. Okay. Because of this, such a large size of the propeller. So the gearbox lowers the angular speed. So this gearbox is connected to a turbine, the low pressure turbine, of if a single turbine is there, to the single turbine, or there may be a separate low pressure turbine. Okay, and the compressor is run by a high pressure turbine or if a single turbine is there, it may be done by the same turbine. And very small amount of air actually relative to the amount of air which passes through the propeller. Very small amount of air actually passes through the hot section, and it creates a very small amount of thrust. Okay, so for normal turboprops, the exhaust will be in this direction, in the horizontal direction. This is for a helicopter, which helicopters also use a similar arrangement, where the propeller is like the propeller shaft is in the vertical direction, right? So in that case, to generate thrust, you have to rotate the exhaust. Generate thrust from the turbojet, you have not turbojet, from the hot section, you have to rotate the exhaust to get some additional thrust. For normal aircraft engines, you will see, if you look carefully, you will see a very small exhaust area at the back and a very small intake area in the front. Okay, for a turboprop. Next time, if you have a chances of boarding a turboprop are less, but if you go for a short distance, you will find the turboprop. And because the boarding occurs very close to because the staircases are very small, you can actually have a very good look at the turboprops feature. So that is the main idea. So the main problem in this calculation of this or designing this is that because the propeller is outside the duct, it is not possible to calculate what is the exact mass flow that is occurring through the propeller. As a result, it is also directly not possible to calculate the work input to the propeller from using the relations that we use, mass flow rate into Cp into T02 minus T01, this type of relation. So we have to devise another mechanism for calculating the thrust of the propeller, because we cannot directly calculate the mass flow rate to the propeller. So we cannot directly calculate the thrust of the propeller, and the velocity also directly we cannot calculate. So we need another mechanism indirectly to calculate the thrust of the propeller, and we will see that later when we derive how to calculate the thrust from the propeller. Okay. And a small thrust will be generated by the hot section exhaust nozzle. That is calculation is similar to what we have already done. Again, as I was saying, it is used for small aircraft. We have discussed this previously also. Okay, this is how the propeller looks like. The blades are curved and they can be rotated depending on the velocity of the aircraft, so that the flow actually passes smoothly over the propeller blades. For different velocities, the relative angle at which the flow is coming will differ. So you have to rotate. So there are mechanisms for rotating the propeller blade. Okay, changing the angle of attack of the propeller blades. So and you will see that if you notice closely, the angles are very much different as compared to a typical fan that we see, which has very flat blades. In this case, you will see that the blades are more like almost along the line of or along the axis. Why? Because of very large relative velocities. If you have, so if in this case, if you draw the velocity triangle, which will not draw, but if you draw the velocity triangle, because of large velocities, you will see that very large angles are required to actually have the relative velocity properly aligned with the flow direction. Turboprops are also used for low velocity military aircraft, which needs large amount of thrust at low velocities, like this type of heavy duty carriers. Okay, means transport military aircraft. These have been developed for VTOL engines also, like vertical takeoff and vertical lift engines, where this engine can rotate. So during takeoff, they can take off with 0 runway length. Just vertically they can take off, and later this can be rotated to develop horizontal thrust. During takeoff, they develop vertical thrust. Experimental planes have been developed with a propeller on the backside, but there are a lot of stability problems because you are pushing the aircraft instead of pulling it. It leads to stability problems, so it is not a very optimum design. So I think we will start because we have some time left. We can start with some discussion. And overall time is limited in the class. to start some this discussion about turboprops today itself. Any questions? So schematically, we will draw the turboprop like this. Okay, this is a two-spool design. So the propeller is being run through a gearbox by the low pressure turbine. Okay, and the compressor is being run by the high pressure turbine. Okay. And we have a nozzle at the exit of the core section. There is only, now it's like a thin section only. You will see that behind the propeller you have a thin engine, unlike the turbofan. It is more like a turbojet. If you look at it, actually, I have any pictures here? So this is the section. This is the small intake. You can see here. This small. I don't know whether you can see or not. This is the intake, and there is a small exhaust at the end. Okay. The hot section. But the propeller size is much larger as compared to this. This is the intake behind the propeller.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, airflow to these engines is not actually symmetric, is it?
Could not understand the question. Airflow at the inlet.
Yes, sir. To these
Not.
engines,
Yes.
it
Yes.
is.
So for the main propeller, it is symmetric, but for the core section, hot section, only you need a very small amount of airflow, and it passes close through the central section, but not at, obviously not at the central section, because that is blocked by the hub of the propeller. Okay. So just below the, generally it is just below the say axis, or just below the what it is called, the shaft. Then it has to be moved along the shaft direction. Yes.
Wouldn't that cause any stability problem
No,
to the
no.
turbine?
The flow has to be reoriented inside. Okay. So it will not just pass along this line. What you are seeing is just the intake. Then it will be redistributed through the entire section, so that the entire compressor and turbine is subjected to the flow. Okay. So after the intake, the air has to be redistributed so that it passes across the or around the central shaft, so that it passes through all the blades of the turbine and the compressor. The intake velocity is very low. Okay, intake velocity is not high at all. Yeah, these aircraft flow at very low velocity, and the propeller does not increase the velocity much at this section near the near the central axis hub section. So the intake velocity is very small. Okay, at the inlet of the, it will not lead to any difficulty. But while drawing, we will draw like this. Okay, it looks like very large intake is present, but actually we have seen that the intake is very small. Okay, very near to the core section, very near to the axis, so that the propeller does not increase the velocity much. Still, it will increase somewhat. So how does it look like? So propeller is being run by the low pressure turbine, compressor is run by the high pressure turbine. So ambient condition is say A. Okay. So at the inlet of the compressor, the condition is say 0, 1. Then at the exit of the compressor, it is 0, 2. And these parts are similar. 0, 3 at the inlet of the high pressure turbine, 0, 4 at the inlet of the low pressure. Yes.
Sir, this is a single spool engine, is it?
This one that I am showing.
Yes, sir. Turboprop is a single spool engine. So why do we have two different turbine sets?
So all turboprops need not be single spool engine. Okay. So if the, it will depend on, different designs. It is not that all turboprops have to be single spool. So in this case, if you want the propeller to be run by a separate turbine, okay, which is somewhat beneficial if you have a very large, say, propeller. okay, very large propellers, you will need the propeller to be run at very low angular velocity. Okay, so then it is much easier to run it from a low pressure turbine, which is running at a different speed as compared to the high pressure turbine. Although there is a gearbox, if you have a single turbine, single spool engine, you need a very large reduction in angular velocity, okay, in the gearbox, which will increase the weight of the gearbox significantly. In this cases, so if you need a smaller propeller, in that case, single spool design is sufficient. So we have a single turbine running the compressor as well as the propeller through the gearbox. Okay, this what I have drawn is a two spool engine. So separate shafts for the propeller and the compressor. So this is how it looks like, two turbines, and then the exhaust from the low pressure turbine. Okay, it is passing through the nozzle and comes out as stage 6. Okay. So I have not shown anything related to the propeller here because we cannot directly calculate based on the TS diagram what is happening in the propeller. We will calculate it indirectly. So this is what I have summarized. Because the propeller is outside, it is not possible to directly calculate the thrust generated by the propeller or the mass flow rate of air going through it. Okay. So as a result, it is not possible to calculate the value of low pressure turbine exit condition T05, which we will, because the low pressure turbine supplies the work input to the propeller. Because we exactly cannot calculate directly what is the propeller work input, because propeller mass flow rate and like the thrust generated is not known directly. So directly we cannot calculate what is the change in temperature, change in enthalpy occurring across the low pressure turbine. Okay, so we will actually do an optimization study to find out an optimum value at which the maximum thrust is obtained. So based on that, the low pressure turbine exit temperature is calculated, which we will see soon. Okay. So how to calculate this T05? So T05 is actually unknown. Okay, so we know what is 04 and at least the isentropic condition 04 and the 6 SS condition. Like we know what is the P04 pressure and what will be the pressure at the exit. So because turboprops fly at low velocities and the expansion potential is low in the nozzle, the nozzle will not be choked. So P6 will be equal to PA. Okay, so P6 is known, P04 is known, but how the P05 is distributed in between P04 and P6 is not known. So as a result, we cannot directly calculate what is the work generated by the turbine and what is the thrust generated by the nozzle. Okay, because it will depend on what is the value of P05. So what is done is like this. Okay, so just this section I have drawn separately, going from 04 to 6. Okay, so let us assume that we know what is P04 and P6. P6 is equal to PGA, and we have done the calculation up to P04. We have found what is P04. Okay, P04 and T04 are known. So 0.04 is known, and say the corresponding isentropic point for whatever is the pressure P05 is 0.05 S. Okay, at this point we do not know what is P05, so we do not know what is 0.05 S, and the isentropic point corresponding to P6 is 6 SS. Okay, 6 SS. So which is the straight line if you draw from 04 and where it intersects the pressure P6. Okay, so 6 SS is known. Okay, so the enthalpy available, isentropic enthalpy available for expansion in the low pressure turbine and the nozzle combined is known. This is delta H. Okay, which is Cp of gas into T04 minus T6 SS. Okay, this is known. Let a fraction of this enthalpy be used for running the low pressure turbine. Or yes, a fraction of the enthalpy is used for generating the work in the low pressure turbine, and rest of the enthalpy is used for expansion in the nozzle to create the thrust in the nozzle. Okay, so we'll denote this fraction as alpha. Okay, just a parameter which denotes how much of this delta H is distributed to the turbine and how much of it is distributed to the nozzle. So alpha into delta H is the amount of enthalpy that is available for expansion in the turbine, and 1 minus alpha into delta H is the enthalpy which is available, for example, for expansion in the nozzle. Okay. So we need to find out an optimum value of alpha or some value of alpha. If we can find out what is the value of alpha, we can find out what is this 0.05s, and then we can find out P05 and corresponding P05 and other values. Okay. So to do this, what we will do, we will assume that say for a certain value of alpha, we will calculate what is the thrust generated by the propeller based on the work output from the low pressure turbine and the thrust generated by the nozzle. Okay, and add these two thrusts together to get the overall thrust by the engine, okay, turboprop engine. And then we will try to see whether we can get any value of alpha or not for which the thrust is highest. Okay, if we can get a value of alpha for which thrust is high, that is the optimum value of alpha, and that is what we are going to take for subsequent calculation. So if we find the optimum value of alpha, then we know what will be the enthalpy that should be provided to the low pressure turbine and what will be the enthalpy available in the nozzle. Okay, so this is the calculation we are going to do. So alpha is the fraction of enthalpy. So we will just keep this open at this point. This diagram open. Alpha is the fraction of enthalpy drop available for low pressure turbine and nozzle. Okay, so alpha is for low pressure turbine out of the total enthalpy available for low pressure turbine and nozzle. Okay. So as P6 is known and equal to PA and P04 is known, delta H can be calculated. Okay, we can calculate delta H easily. How can we calculate delta H? So delta H is equal to Cp of gas into T04 minus T6SS into 1 plus F, where 1 plus F is the mass flow rate per unit mass flow rate. The hot section at the inlet of the hot section, 1 plus F is the mass flow rate at the exit. Okay, and through the turbine. 1 plus F Cp gas, T04 if we take out. So we inside the bracket we have 1 minus T6SS by T04. So T6SS by T04, this based on the isentropic process, we can calculate, we can write this as P6 by P04 to the power gamma G minus 1 by gamma G. Okay. So this delta H is 1 plus F Cp of gas T04 into 1 minus P6 by P04 gamma G minus 1 by gamma G. So from this equation, delta H can be T04 is known from previous calculation. F will be known from previous calculation. Cp of gas is known. P6 is known, ambient pressure. P04 is known from previous calculation. Gamma is known. So everything is known. We can calculate what is delta H. What is the enthalpy available overall for use in the low pressure turbine and the nozzle. Okay. So now what we will do, we will assume that the isentropic enthalpy that is available in the free turbine. So this is known as free turbine. Why? Because it is not connected to the compressor. If a turbine is not connected to the compressor, it is just running the propeller. It is known as free turbine. So it is the low pressure turbine or free turbine. So isentropic, we will assume that isentropic enthalpy drop is delta FTS. Okay, just giving some nomenclature. Okay. This is equal to H04 minus H05S. This is the isentropic enthalpy drop occurring in the low pressure turbine. So H04 minus H05S, we have already assumed that this is equal to alpha into delta H. Okay. So delta H FTS, free turbine isentropic, okay, is equal to alpha into delta H. So the actual enthalpy drop, H04 minus H05, will be isentropic enthalpy drop into isentropic efficiency. So eta FT into alpha delta H, okay, or eta FT into delta H FTS. And now the thrust that is generated by the propeller. Okay, if we consider that the thrust generated by we do not know what is the thrust generated by the propeller, but let us assume that the thrust generated by the propeller can be denoted by FPR. Okay, So the thrust generated by the propeller into the aircraft velocity is the overall power output from the propeller. Okay, power generated by the propeller. So this is equal to the power input which is available from the low pressure turbine. Okay, the power input which is supplied by the low pressure turbine after all the losses. Okay, so the FPR into VA is the power generated by the propeller. So this is equal to. So I will go through each of these. Okay. Shaft work. So what is shaft work? Shaft work is the work that is transmitted by the low pressure turbine. Okay. So low pressure turbine, we have seen that the enthalpy drop that is occurring in the low pressure turbine, assuming the efficiency of the low pressure turbine is eta ft into alpha delta H. Okay. Yes, eta ft into alpha delta H. Okay, or eta ft into delta H FTS. So this multiplied by the mass flow rate, okay, per unit mass flow rate of flow through the hot section gives us the thrust that is generated by per unit mass flow rate by the low pressure turbine. Okay, this multiplied by the mechanical efficiency is the amount of work that is transmitted to the propeller. Okay, so this multiplied by the mass flow rate of hot gases will give you the actual work or actual power that is transmitted, that is available for transmission to the propeller. Okay, before the gearbox. So after the transmission losses, but before the gearbox, m dot h into W shaft. So there are losses in the gearbox, and then there are losses due to inefficiencies in the propeller, which cannot be calculated. So after these losses, whatever power is like after the losses in the propeller and gearbox, whatever power is generated, this is the power which is equal to the power generated by the propeller. Okay. So we can equate this FPR into VA to eta PR, propeller efficiency, into gearbox efficiency, into the power that is transmitted by the shaft up to the gearbox, which is m dot h into W shaft, where W shaft is mechanical efficiency into enthalpy drop in the free turbine into 1 plus F. This enthalpy drop in the free turbine again contains isentropic efficiency of the free turbine into alpha delta H. Okay. If you write this, if in terms of FPR, FPR comes out to be eta PR, eta G, m dot H by VA, eta M, eta FT, alpha delta H, 1 plus F. Okay, this is just algebraic calculation. Okay, rearrangement of the terms. Or FPR is equal to, we can put all the efficiencies together, propeller efficiency into gearbox efficiency, okay, into mechanical or transmission efficiency into free turbine efficiency by VA into mass flow rate of gases through the at the inlet of the hot section into 1 plus F alpha delta H. Okay. Everything here is known, or like input parameter, except what is the value of alpha. Okay. Delta H we know how to calculate, m dot H design parameter, all the other things are design parameters, design or input parameters, manufacturing parameters. Velocity of the aircraft also, we have to do the calculation for a certain, say, cruise velocity of the aircraft. Actually, we have run out of time. So we'll do this discussion tomorrow. Okay, we will find the thrust generated by the nozzle also, and then we will find out the total thrust and then optimum value of the thrust, and then we will solve a problem to actually understand this process better in tomorrow's class. We'll stop here. Please try to solve the problems that I have mentioned. I will also upload them, I think, and I will send you